Rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with the boys, PD and
Vanello's ready to rock.
all right, that's what I'm trying to talk. Today we're talking about Secret Invasion, episode 3. I had to drop that today. I know we haven't been talking much about Secret Invasion, but I have to talk about what happened, man. Look.
Wait a second, we haven't done anything on this yet, right?
I know.
So start from the beginning. Or start from how we got to here.
Okay, Secret Invasion, basically, it is not the comic book, okay? But it takes the comic book, the concept. Everybody who read the comic book, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to tell you straight up, what do Skrulls do? They change their shapes, right? And they impersonate people, and then they take over. And basically, this is what they're trying to do. The whole reason is why, and what's the impetus of all this. So what some of the things we've learned about Secret Invasion is that, remember when we saw the original Skrulls, the original 19 Skrulls we saw at the beginning of Captain Marvel, who stayed on to help Fury? Well, there's over 1 million Skrulls on the doggone planet, and they've been waiting 30 years for this dude Fury to get them home. Remember, he promised to help them get a new home, and he hasn't done it. And so we all know what happened to Fury. After a while, I think he went on the blip, right? And then when he came back, he just went up to the space station, Saber, and he's been incognito. He hasn't really been talking to anybody. He's been using the Skrull Talos basically as his go-between, but he's been totally out of the loop, and he did not know that Talos, who was a general for the Skrulls, brought over 1 million Skrulls onto the planet Earth. And so what's happened? 30 years have passed, and you got the younger Skrulls like, yo, we tired of waiting. Let's just take this thing over. This is just as good as any planet possible, right? So that's what they start making a move on. I mean, and you can get more into some, but that's the basic premise of it. And you have the main antagonist was a strong supporter of, supposedly a strong supporter of Fury in the beginning, but now, he's the main antagonist. He's like, yo, screw it. Humans don't deserve the world. We'll take the world ourselves. That's what's been going on. And so Fury's just trying to get control of the situation because, there's 1 million Skrulls on the planet. Now, it's funny because what they're doing here, if we learn in the comics, the Skrulls can shapeshift, but it seems that they have to go through a process to shapeshift. And so they're in a human form, and then they're in a Skrull form, they're able to take a human form. So it's a bit different from the comics. But I think it's all leading up to the Skrulls, in order to ensure that they take over the whole planet. I think they're leading up to a Super Skrull. They did ask Fury, like, yo, why don't you call in your friends, the Avengers, to help out? He's like, nah, we don't need to get these guys involved yet. So I don't know. Probably he knows something, probably he does. But here, the key thing I wanted to start about this. Anybody want to say anything before I moved on?
I would say they said Super Skrulls, multiple, and I would also say that what is it? What was it? I just add in. You said they using not only trying to take your likeness, take your memories.
Yes.
That's the thing they added, was taking your memories. But ultimately, the comics never really dealt with that portion. It was always just fun that they already were up to speed. They'd done whatever work they needed to do, and they were able to totally impersonate somebody when they got into it. So it was like the comic conceit of just getting them up to speed, or just the person doing something terrible. And Marvel Universe had the kind of McCarthyism, so it was just like, hey, Reed Richards and FF are bad guys. They just must be bad guys. They're like, we don't need to interview them. We just saw them on TV destroying that oil, the oil rig. So they're bad guys now. So it's kind of like that. But yeah, that's the only thing I would add.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. But, continue on based on that thing. You're talking about the Skrulls. Bro, how did the Skrulls create their empire?
What, in general, how they originally did?
They went to planets and they impersonated people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the ways they were able to grow and conquer their empire. And the whole thing, again, storytelling gets mushed up. And I think Cal said it when we did the review of and you said it too, of Captain Marvel. How, man, they just changed everything. You know what I'm trying to say? And so this is like trying to get back to where they were before, or try to explain what it is. But now they're saying it's all Fury's fault in essence.
That's what I have issue with. I like them being mean and nasty for no good reason. That they just hate humans. They're just and they love being bad. Like think of I think in one of the, I think Roger Stern's The War to End All Skrulls, where they had someone who was kind of the revolutionary, meaning for Skrulls, kind of the guy who was a little more liberal and kind of like, hey, we don't have to go forward and like lock him up, put him in under the jail like he was the Skrull Mandela, and they just like they had it so he couldn't shapeshift. It was like a whole thing of body armor, like this. We hate this guy. Like he is despised throughout the Skrull Empire. But yeah, that I don't like. I don't need think the. It's kind of hard doing storyline where Fury is the bad guy because he didn't find a world where it's just kind of dialogue. Like, what did you do? Why didn't you do it? It's like, well, that's kind of what else could you do? We're just kind of adding some conflict here, where it's just like, well, if we looked at it, what was he doing? Oh, well, no, we were trying to make the Avengers. No, it should have been. And yet, what's Captain Marvel doing? Well, we don't know what she was doing. She was out in space doing something.
She's protecting the world, the universe. Because Earth has tons of Avengers here, and she's attacking the universe, but they can't find a world for the Skrull. So there's a problem there because there's really no explanation still as to why he was at Saber all the time. That was his government job. And by the way, the government's basically fired him because of some incidents that happened in Russia. But watch the series. I think it may be better in the long run when you probably watch it all in one shot as opposed to piecemeal because it's achingly slow at times. You're like, oh, but if you like John Le Carre and I did his spy novels and some of his movies, it seems to be falling out like that. But hey, the big thing we're talking about is episode 3, right? And here's the key thing: is the line that he says basically him and Talos are getting into it. And Talos is the Skrull from Marvel, from Captain Marvel, and we've seen him show up in other episodes, in other movies too. Like he was, so he basically, he and Fury are at odds, and he basically tells Fury, he's like, I've been trying to clean up your mess for like 30 years, basically. And he's like, what? Basically, Talos basically says, who do you think made you who you were? Who's the one that made you become the Nick Fury? Because of him and their 19 people able to go all over the world and change and infiltrate stuff, Fury was able to rise high in Shield. I'm like, whoa,
that's some nonsense right there.
I've been waiting for Cal to say something.
That is some straight nonsense right there. That means anytime we've seen Fury in one of the films up until this point, that could be Talos, that could be a Skrull. That is some straight bullshit. I don't know why they did that. That is nonsense.
They're saying
that's not all the good moments that we've had with Fury. That we got to question it now. Why in the world would they do that? That's some bullshit.
Because Talos was his friend. Because he's like, so why are you basically doing? He says, because you are my friend. You're the one I trusted. But why hasn't Talos changed and gone over to the other side? He says, after 30 years, you don't know me. You really still don't know me. I'm here because of you. Because basically, you're my boy. Okay. Even though we disagree.
All right. Had enough. It's the same premise that they love doing with these type of stories where the hero is the person who is responsible for the problem. It's their fault. This would have never happened if the hero never got involved. So they're not really a hero. So we can once again do this Marxist crap where we're going to undermine anything that's an institution, including the idea of heroism. That's number one. Number two, you are telling this story at the expense of an established character who is Nick Fury. Who approved this nonsense? Why did they approve this nonsense? The the TV shows, oh man, I've really done my best to hold it back, but the TV shows are self-destructive to the brand. Lord. You guys need to stop it. You have been doing this for too long at this point. Why in the world would you do this? You are literally cannibalizing what you have done. You need to stop it. This is nonsense.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it is kind of shocked. I mean, again, they because they went so far, like, when you made those changes back in Captain Marvel, it's hard to turn that train around. You know what I'm trying to say? And introducing the Skrulls, but back 30 years ago, and having them meet, and then he's going to help them. Of course, he's going to end up using it. So the logic from the movie makes a lot of sense, right? But the logic that doesn't hold is, why hasn't he helped them over all these years? What's the big secret? And I think that's going to be the overall ending part of it. And of course, let me just throw out another thing. You do know that he was married to a Skrull, right? You know, Fury
Yeah,
was
that
married to a
was a
Skrull,
little wacky.
and he left his wife, Skrull wife, to go to save everything. No particular reason,
The
nothing,
drama,
no
high
explanation.
drama.
Yeah, so it's like Fury. There's just so much. Do you guys remember Agents of Shield and
Yeah.
Coulson when they replaced everybody with the?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Mars, you sound like you're enjoying this.
I'm in shock. I don't know. It's like watching a train go down the track. Like we talked about it back when we did our review of Captain
You
Marvel.
sound like you're in
You know,
good shock. You
like
don't sound
what?
outraged or anything of this nature.
I'm.
You,
I am.
you like this, don't you? You're the reason why this type of stuff keeps happening.
No.
Yeah, there it goes. There it goes right there.
I
You're
don't
not up in
know. I
arms
don't
about
know if he.
this.
I don't. I he's not been saying a total support like he normally does for it.
Dude, all I'm saying is that we've seen the train. We saw what happened when that train jumped off the track in Captain Marvel. And the Skrulls being the victim. So let's just tell the audience right now. I mean, of course, most likely most of the audience knows this. The Skrulls are not good guys in the comics.
Are the worst.
They are one, and the Kree are not good guys because they may look.
They're bad.
They're
Most
both
of them
bad.
are bad too.
Okay?
Most of those guys are bad except for one.
Probably the Shi'ar have their own reasons for doing stuff, but let's get back to the Kree Skull. They've been fighting each other forever. Why? Because they're the same damn thing. They both are bad. It's just different sides of the bad, right? If you have Mussolini and Hitler, they're bad. If you have Mao Zedong, well, let's not say that because we may have customers from other part of the world. We want to encourage them to continue to watch us too. And of course, not get blackballed in those things once we're working with our contract gets picked up by Marvel.
How hard edged that you can get. This is hard. This is as tough on the line that you can be. Right on the edge.
Look at him. He's smiling like Mikey from Life Cereal. He likes it.
So I mean, you're talking about me?
Didn't say no.
No, PD ain't saying nothing.
I did. I said I had issue
I'm
with.
I'm not talking about PD. I'm talking about you.
Well, I'm
okay. This speaks to your desires of totalitarian, takeover. Look at you. You're like, yeah. This is how you do it. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you're supposed to be with us to say this is trash.
I always thought one of the best things about the Skrulls was the ability of them to shapeshift, right? And and that's what they're finally using. So the elements that we've wanted to see before previously, shapeshifting and taking over the government, they've taken large parts of the government over. So it's pretty interesting. I'm still watching. We're episode 4 coming up, but we'll see how that holds up. But shocker. That's all I gotta say.
Well, listen, it's funny. I didn't, because a lot of times they pull these characters from the comic books, and I was just looking it up. I didn't know Talos was introduced in the Incredible Hulk was a creation of Peter David and Gary Frank, but it was a gag. I guess the Impossible Man invited some Skrulls to Rick Jones' wedding, but he was a mutant Skrull, a Skrull that couldn't shapeshift. So Marvel Cinematic Universe has thrown out that thing and saying, "Hey, which one? We want to use a good one. Oh, Talos, that one, the one that Peter did. We liked what Peter David did. He was a fun one, and he was using a bunch of stuff." Well, first thing we do is got to give him back his powers. But that one he had like a kind of something around his eye, like a cable sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, we'll go into how it's done. I mean, it kind of, I guess, like the first 15 minutes of Mission Impossible 3, where he's in Russia. It kind of has that with the nighttime all the time, though. But it's like has that sort of feel the dark parts of the Mission Impossible series. But that's like the entire thing. But the shapeshifters can't, when they try to escape a Skrull shapeshifter, oh, you're chasing me on the top of a building? I'll just create wings and fly off. This one, they can't do that because of course, the budget. So you go fall down, go boom type of deal. So.
Well, you remember the controversy with the show that they have AI animated opening, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what people are complaining. Oh my gosh, you have AI animated opening and stuff like that. So, I mean, probably actually AI probably could give you some ideas for doing that on the show.
Yeah.
No, hey, we support the writers and we support the unions. 100%. We here at the Spinner Rack are
Oh
100%.
my God! Stop. See, I was trying to help you out there.
Yes.
Now you go.
What am I saying wrong? I'm saying the right things. Cal, right? Am I not saying the right things?
You're enjoying this too much, Mars.
Well, we have a bigger thing to say. We have this Secret Invasion, which was a superhero kind of story. And now Secret Invasion, which is kind of plays into the fact that we're hearing all this buzz around UFOs here now. So it's like almost a perfect series. It's very ground level, so it's only the shapeshifters. We don't have any other heroes in it outside of Nick Fury. But I keep thinking back and saying, you know, it would have been fun if we had the real Nick Fury, the white Nick Fury, the Steranko Nick Fury, searching for these Skrulls and having a fight every other page, having tension every other minute of the thing where he goes in line, there's some Skrulls here, and then you get a fight. Like the Steranko, Nick Fury, he's driving, you see the windshield's going, that's the slowest moment that next thing you know, the Yellow Claws people attack him in the car. And he's like, and he's in there, Sakatumi, baby, ready to fight.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up. I think it's controversial, and I know people are going to shoot us because of this. Because Nick Fury, right? You're right. We grew up with the other Nick Fury, and now we have
The real Nick Fury.
now we have the Shaft. I mean, sorry,
Nick
Samuel
Fury
L.
fought in
Jackson.
World War II. Nick Fury who never let this type of damn nonsense happen. The real Nick Fury who we grew up with.
So, but
got this reject Nick Fury over here.
I wouldn't go that far. So this Nick Fury.
I'll go that far.
It's a different Nick Fury. I mean, this is
Nick
not.
Fury had LMDs. Nobody knew who Nick Fury was because he had LMDs. We don't know who this Nick Fury is because he's got Skrulls running around and he brought him here.
Well, what am I supposed to
So this Nick Fury is. So the controversy is that if we try to explain to people who Nick Fury are, they're going to say, no, this is the Nick Fury here. So it just hit me the other day because I was watching. There was a Funko doll of Nick Fury, and it had this Nick Fury, and then right next to him there was a Nick Fury from the original Nick Fury. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? Which Nick Fury are we supposed to be looking at? So it's like they're so divergent. They're not even close to being one and the same thing. And again, these are the type of things that confuse the general consumer, and the general consumer is just going to say, hey, you know what?
Trash.
I'm only watching the movies and call the rest of that stuff, the rest of that stuff BS.
Movies are trash.
Trash?
It's all trash, man. Here's what's supposed to happen. At least I think this is pretty good. At one point, you could watch the Marvel movies, and it sent people running to the comics because they wanted to read this stuff. They wanted more. They wanted to see the origins of it. They wanted the source material. They wanted to vibe with it. At some point, they decided, no. We're just going to do our own thing, and we'll borrow the names and maybe the likenesses from the comics, but we're going to do our own stories at the end of the day. So nobody's running back to the comics for it. Okay, and this stuff, it supports each other. If people go to comics and they read them, they create characters there. Those characters go to the movies. People want to see how they're portrayed in the movies, but they decided they know best, and they're just going to do it on their own. Okay, they're not going to link back to any of that source material and so on and so forth. And then you got exactly what you said. People are like, I'm not going to be bothered. I'm just going to deal with the movies, which is a real loss because the movies can only come out so often. Comics come out much more frequently.
Yeah. But the general user is confused. They keep saying that. That's one of the things they have an issue with. You have one guy running a comic for a run of what, 20 issues, 100 issues. 100 issues is pretty good, but 20 issues, and then it's a total change because a new guy comes in. Hey, all that stuff is not sacrosanct. I'm doing whatever I want to do, right?
Right.
And they change things around. I mean, we have Superman controversies. If we got to go that way, we got Superman controversies. They made some major changes with Superman, and you know that we would not have expected.
Which controversy? You're talking about Man of Steel when they have him killing people?
No, I'm talking about
just a travesty.
I'm talking about in the comics.
What are you doing in the comic? Oh, you mean with his son?
The son, I'm trying to say.
His son is on the Rainbow Patrol?
I'm not going there, bro. I'm not going there.
Okay.
They've made changes that people did not expect.
See, right? That wouldn't have been, to be honest, that change happened so quickly and came across so it was so plastic that the reaction, I couldn't fault anybody for the reaction. He was a kid for such a period. He was a kid he was a kid. He was introduced as a kid, and if you were reading, you didn't get a long enough experience with him as a kid before they jump him to being a young adult, and then he's in a relationship with the girl, and then he's in a relationship with the guy. So you're asking the readership to just roll with this stuff, and a lot of time the reader, especially if the reader liked what you did before you made the changes, they're going to say no. And I don't excuse anybody using any pejoratives or anything, but you're really testing the patience of your readership when you've given them something that they like, and then you turn it over, literally overnight, and expect them to rock with it at the end of the day. Marvel didn't necessarily do that. They've had a nice long run towards this, but it's the same thing, and you're really testing your viewership.
Well, I mean, are you testing stuff like what's her name's kids? I forgot what her name. Wanda's son. I mean, you see how at least you see the development there, as opposed to let's change it all. But here you have a character they changed in, and we've totally digressed. A character who they've changed so rapidly, but they never changed Damien. Damien is still the same age, right? They haven't moved Damien up, have they?
No, right? Because Damien is a popular enough character, and enough people like him that they know they wouldn't be able to survive that sort of change. They're like, no, this is working for us.
It's called Super Sons, right? One is now Superman, super younger man, and now one is still a boy. Mm-hmm. Logic don't make any sense. What, did he go into a separate age machine and then he changed? That's the problem, So, and that series, I read a couple of those comics. They seem pretty fun. They seem decent, as opposed to the changes they made. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me, But hey, back to Secret Invasion. And Cal, yes, I agree that you do like it, and
he's back.
So,
he's back.
Any further questions about Secret Invasion?
Any questions? Trash.
Do you think it's going to anyway connect to the Marvels movie?
I think it is connected. It's connected to he just retconned the whole MCU. With now we find out the whole basis of Fury's rise in S.H.I.E.L.D. is it wasn't his. Remember the Avengers Initiative? Most likely, Talos probably got up the idea and said, "Hey, we've been spying on people, and we found out this." That's what I'm saying, right? That's a whole change.
That's terrible.
I mean, they didn't say that, but I'm just saying you have to question everything. Did Fury have an original thought? Remember, Talos was a general on one of the generals on the Skrull Court and High Council or whatever, and now and Fury, when he met him, was what? Just a regular FBI dude? What was his job? Was he
set him up so that all the successes are Talos's and all the failures are Fury's. Right? When Bendis did this storyline, I didn't particularly care for it when he did it in the comics. The biggest problem was that you had guys who were showing up, and that supposedly these were all these heroes like Luke Cage and Spider-Woman. And they had, these guys were, they had been impersonated by Skrulls for God knows how long. But the only mitigating factor with them was that they didn't really have their own regular series for a while. So, you could just kind of like, yeah, okay, that sort of stuff. And you didn't have to pay too much attention to it. Nick Fury has been the linchpin of all of these films. And you're now gonna bring into question the validity of this character. I mean, I don't know how the series is gonna end, but you really need to reconcile. You need to reconcile that very, very quickly. Because then what's supposed to go forward? We're gonna have like future stuff where it'll be some clip from the Avengers movie, or when he's first meeting Iron Man, and then he's gonna change into Talos.
Well, we saw Talos being him in No Way Home, right?
Yeah, I thought when we saw him saw that in No Way Home, that's a one-off. Okay, that's a one-off. Yeah. It can't be that, okay, the first time he's meeting Tony Stark, that's Talos. And then the next time we see him in Avengers, that's Talos. We as viewers, we can't. This is the same nonsense they did with this. What is it with the what was it with the whole clone thing with Spider-Man? Where it's like, wait a second, guys are like, wait a minute, you're telling me that the book I've been reading for the last 10, 15, 20 years, this isn't the same guy? This isn't Peter Parker? It was a sizable revolt. It was a sizable revolt. It was a sizable revolt, and only because at that time they wanted to they wanted to capitalize on what had happened with Death of Superman. But you kill Spider-Man, you can't bring him back. So they were like, okay, we could do this right over here. And the guys revolted. They were like, no, and rightfully so. Anybody who's been watching these movies, from Iron Man up to now in the TV series, and that's a major change to a major character in terms of Nick Fury. And if they do it with Nick Fury, who's to say they can stop with anybody else? They can tell us, oh, Tony Stark didn't die in Endgame. That was a Skrull who did all that work. He's still alive. See, best of both worlds.
Well, I
You
would.
bring up a good point. Why, if they make such a dramatic change with the character, why are we still calling him Nick Fury? You know what I'm trying to say? Call him Nick.
Well, I would say that's the bigger issue for Sam Jackson as an actor. Are they replacing him? They can say, hey, the real guy is Talos. Now Talos is the guy telling the Avengers what to do and bring them together. And there was an initiative that I started, not Nick Fury.
I don't think
I'm
he's
the
like,
one.
I probably didn't. He's not the one. That was just a lie. I'm saying he was using their intelligence in order to do the Avengers initiative. You get what I'm saying? It probably was Fury's idea or whatever, but using them to get that. I'm just saying the other option is if like I said, it could also have been Talos, but I think it most likely, right, they're going to probably say it was his, and he was just using the intelligence they brought to them.
It's unfortunate, but that puts you, see right there, you trying to explain it. Now extrapolate that to the online community where these guys love to run off with all these ideas and all these flights of fancies going down, all these rabbit holes. Even we had the end game where, what did they say in end game? Hey, as soon as these stones are returned back to the point we took them, it closes off the timeline. Did that stop the online community from saying that there's 6 different realities? No, these guys don't know any restraint when it comes to their imagination. It sounds good. They're just going to keep running with it. You have thrown a major stone amidst the skeletons. Don't expect them not to go running for it. I just don't understand. From a writing standpoint, I don't understand why they're doing this. I don't understand why they continuously squander all of the momentum and all of the goodwill that they built up for the universe. I don't see what is the payoff to doing something like this.
You want to know what it is?
Uh-oh.
Feige can't possibly be on top of all this stuff. Before, when it was just Iron Man and Thor and Avengers, he was more intimately involved. Because remember, he's in control then. The X-Men movies were being controlled by someone else, the other movies, but he was there. But I'm saying now he controlled it. Now, where's phase 4? Probably all of phase 1 was run by him. Phase 2 was run by him. But as time has come on, the thing has gotten too big. You know what I'm trying to say? You have so much going on. There's no way for him to cover. He's trying to do, hey, you have to show more diverse characters in this one. Oh, you got to do this here for that. You got to make sure we got to do this. And so there's so many competing interests other than just making the movies that he grew up, And this is why I go back to the Fury situation. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a Fury-like character, but he's not. You know what I'm trying to say? If he brings a whole nother dimension to the character that is not what we expect, again, should he be called Fury? Or probably he is Fury from Earth 838. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing a number there, And I think that's what confuses people when you can say, oh, this is the active timeline and this is what things actually are. Probably I'm wrong. Probably the MCU that we see is a different timeline. Probably it's not the 616 timeline. And therefore, this Fury is not subject to what happened previously with the other Fury. And what we see in the comics is totally different from here, right? Then we're cool with it, right?
I don't know if we're cool with it.
Okay, but I'm saying it explains a lot then.
That's too much. That what you said right there is too much work for me to enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's too much work. Okay, that's like literally that's stuff that I would have to contend with if I was debating on somebody whether to the existence of a higher power. Okay, it's too much work. This is supposed to be fantasy escapism, and I got to go deal with alternate realities in order just to enjoy this particular character. Ridiculous.
Dude, but that's what they've done.
especially since you did it to yourself.
That's what they've done with other stuff. All right, so look, we've covered the clone. I like it still. I'm watching it. I'm continuing to watch it. I know I have, of course, my misgivings overall. You know, we have a resume with Marvel, so of course we are gonna like it. It's not like we're not gonna like it, anyways. You know, so we all in agreement here that the show should continue as is, and it will continue to entertain us as is. You know, with some minor qualms, right?
No, I'm at the stage where with some of the Marvel shows, I would have to watch something else on Disney to feel like I got something out of Disney. So
But Animal Planet.
no, I watched the Doogie Kalamahale, that thing. I watched the Secret Society of Second Born Siblings. Something else that's on there to see, like to kind of just get a good beginning, middle, and end, rather than because the other Disney dramas. They had the what's the name, National Treasure. I was watching that, where kids routinely make mistakes for the wrong reason. They just go around there falling on their face, making mistakes, doing stuff, just to have regular thing. Now this is more. I haven't done that in this stage where I've had to go to something else, but that's like it's under. It's not as kind of rated. It's tough because obviously the Falcon and Winter Soldier was probably one of their better ones, and then I don't know what else. I can't say what else, but it's not something that I have fallen asleep, but I haven't gone away furious like I have to some of the other ones. So that's as much as I can give it. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. PD. We other of us will disagree, being that all we watch are Marvel and Star Wars stuff there. So the rest of it can burn for all we care.
Wow, the rest of it can burn.
Can burn. And Cal, as usual, agrees with me. So I'm going to close it out. Spinnerack.
Nice try. Nice try. I don't agree with you. Okay. We know I don't agree with you. Then this show right over here, again, if they can explain to if they're able to tie this up and this somehow successfully works towards pushing forward more stories, better storytelling, okay. I'll be the first person to say I was wrong, mea culpa. Otherwise, trash.
All right. Spinnerack.
Out.
Out.